ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। The study of this mantras, I really don't know from where to begin actually. There are so many aspects to it. Really don't know where to begin and where to end. This Ramayana was much easier because we know the story, so we can start from where it begins. Now this mantras, really don't understand from where to start actually. Yesterday we saw the basic idea of the mantra. What is a mantra? And the efficiency of a mantra can be tasted or can be known only when you use it. Just reading about it will not help you to know what that mantra is all about. It's exactly like buying the medicine from the chemist. Is not going to tell you what that medicine is all about. What does it do? How will it help? You have to take it. Similarly, this mantra's efficiency we can know only by actually practicing it. But then the moment we say practicing it, what is expected is you got to practice it with the associated things. You cannot practice it in isolation. That is not possible. Even if you are a specialist, I am ortho surgeon. When a person says, it's not that he doesn't know medicine, he knows only about bones. No, he has to cover the things and then he goes to a particular one. Dentistry, because he knows medicine and then he goes to dental. So you have to have an expertise in a particular field also means you know the general things. Similarly, if you want to practice these mantras, don't practice them in isolation. Like I have seen people doing this when it comes to this popular one, this Gayatri mantra. What do? I chant Gayatri mantra every time, every day. That's it. It will not have any effect. You will get a satisfaction that you have done something correct. That satisfaction you may get, but you will never know the effect of that Gayatri mantra. Now, even if you want to practice this Gayatri mantra, you cannot be practicing that in isolation. It has a particular process. That process is what we see all this Brahmins who we do. You would have seen, these Brahmins who are supposed to be chanting this Gayatri mantra, what is known as Sandhya Vandanam. Morning and evening, they do the prayers. In that prayer, they do this Gayatri mantra. Now here, there are a lot of preparations for it. This in that Sandhya Vandanam, the central one is chanting the Gayatri mantra. But then you have to prepare the person for the chant. You can't just do the chanting. It will not be effective. For which there is a qualification needed. What is a qualification? It's an Upanayanam ceremony should have been done. So, Upanayanam is what the thread ceremony, what we call as at the age of between 6 and 8. Usually that is being done for people, and then there are people who calculate and say it can be done at the age of 10, we can go up to 11, can go up to 16, and then there are people who practice it the previous day before marriage. Previous day evening, they have this one, next day marriage happens, because the priest will not do the chanting and that mantras and the rituals. That's all. Otherwise, there is no necessity. But the method is the person should have gone through this thread ceremony, Upanayanam ceremony. Upanayanam ceremony, what do they do, sir? That is where the child is introduced a mantra. That's where he is known as Dvijaha, means twice born. Second birth he takes. The first birth for a child is at the time of his physical birth. Now, at this age, when he is going through the Upanayanam ceremony, he is supposed to be taking the second birth. The second birth is the dawn of his buddhi, intellect. The moment that intellect is born, the first thing given to that is the Gayatri mantra, which is referred as Brahmopadesha. That's what they do there. Of course, there are other preparations and rituals and all is there. Essentially, what they do is Brahmopadesha. Like marriage means what? Tying the tali or exchanging the ring. Now that you can do anywhere, no? You can just go to the church and show your finger, put the ring, marriage done, we can go home, full stop. No, there are a lot of preparations are there associated. Before that, after that, all that we do. Similarly, in Upanayanam, the central one is this. Central one is to give this Gayatri mantra Upadesham given to the child. With that, this one becomes. So, the first ever mantra taught to the child as soon as his intellect is born, buddhi is born, is the Gayatri mantra. And they say this one mantra is sufficient for that person to run his entire life. You don't require any other mantras. All other mantras are inferior to this one. If you say that there is one mantra I have to take for my life, sir, they say it is Gayatri mantra. That's enough. You don't require anything else. That is why this is the first mantra being introduced to the child, because it is directly addressing to the essential equipment with which a human can live. That is buddhi, intellect. Since this mantra directly addresses for him to seeking his intellect, the child is told, remember, your life is going to be guided, directed by a strong strengthening of your intellect. So remember that the purpose is this. That is all the gist of that mantra is. Then comes very many aspects to it. Essentially, Gayatri mantra, when we say, what we are referring to is to the student or the child is reminding himself or seeking to get his intellect sharper, brighter, exactly like sun. What is the sun there, sir, to do with? Generally, in our concept, is a darkness is associated with ignorance, knowledge is associated with light. The moment sun comes up, darkness disappears automatically. Similarly, once the intellect is strengthened, the problems of life disappears. After that, there is no problems in your life. That's it. This is the idea. Basic idea is this. Then comes certain nuances you can add on to it. how that sunlight is, sun rays go straight. Similarly, let my thinking also be straight. Let it not be crooked. There will not be any breaks. There should not be any break in my thinking process. It has to be a smooth flow of thought process I should have. One. Another dimension we give is this. Because the moment you say a strong intellect, what is the hallmark of a strong intellect? Clarity. Intellectual clarity a person has. How do you know? There are very many things they give for understanding this, and very popular one is clarity of intellect means it should carry 8-fold aspects. If you can master this 8 dimensions, you have got clarity. Your intellect is strong. Now you may say, sir, how do I know whether my intellect is strong? Or how am I to assess my intellectual strength to today? Say. Now here they give, the scriptures give us 8 points, 8 indications were given, attributed to Hanuman. Hanuman is supposed to have given this, the fellow who gives buddhi to people. He says, first thing, you want buddhi from me, what you should do, sir? Master these 8 aspects. He says, first thing, he says, is your ability to understand instantly, the speed in which you can understand what the other person is speaking. 1. 2, your ability to hold what you have heard in your mind. See, many times this becomes a big problem for us. That is why the very, very, orthodox or the, most perfect speech, they say, is what? It has to have 3 stages. First stage, you tell the audience what you are going to tell them. And then you tell the audience. And then you tell the audience what you have told them. What are you doing? You are doing the same thing 3 times. You are only repeating actually. But then why they have to do that? Because the problem with people is what? You will hear, as you are hearing things, you can, but the problem is you can't retain it. The capacity to hold the ideas in your buddhi. 2. 3 is the capacity to recollect the necessary information when it is needed. I read somewhere, about what is the quality of intellect. When you are discussing about it, immediately we should be able to bring it back, which is also referred as Medha Shakti. It's also another dimension of buddhi. What is it? Your ability to recollect. Lot of students have this problem, they say. Sir, before the examination, I remember everything. After the examination, I remember everything. During examination only, I forget everything. I had a friend who had this issue. That fellow, he would really get annoyed, and genuinely he would tell me. Before that, on the way to college, I'll ask him the same, theorem. Hey, what is this? Explain to me. He will explain. That same theorem question comes in the examination hall, he will look at me. I say, when I look at him, I say, thanks, Dad, you told me, it has come. You look at me, I say, I forgot. Necessary time, you should be able to have that recollection capacity. You can recollect it. Then he says, You must have the capacity to express the recollected information or the collected knowledge, the ideas that you have, to the understanding of others. You can recollect, you can keep it. I can hear, I can retain, I can recollect. But the problem is I can't express in such a way that the person can follow what I'm speaking. You know, many times we go for these lectures or people, speak. They go on speaking. End of the lecture, what is it, sir? Where they start, where they end, they themselves get lost. Like many times that happens to this, amateur, musicians. They start singing the raga. In that thing of, elaboration, they get lost. Halfway through, we can see them struggling. How am I to conclude the raga now? Because he has gone through that elaboration to an extent where we don't know how to conclude it. Very difficult. I've seen people, doing it. I know one of my disciplines I trying to achieve is this. See, starting the class on time is not a big problem. Anybody can do it. There's no big difficulty. Concluding the class on time is the most difficult part. See, concluding it on time is where it defines the discipline of the individual. Your ability to close it. You say, 1 hour, it should be 1 hour. You say half an hour, it should be half an hour. You say 1.5 hours, it should be 1.5 hours. You cannot be stretching it. Few seconds here and there, that doesn't make a big difference because it depends on the clock and all that I'm saying. But essentially, what it cannot be, so different. Why is that? You cannot organize your thoughts properly. 1, 2, you can speak, but others should have the capacity to understand what you are speaking. That's called the next one, the skillful in speech. That speech also should be so pleasant. Hitam. Now he explains that in the Gita. Sattvic speech, Rajasic speech, and Tamasic speech, he says. People should be able to understand what you are speaking, but it should be sattvic in nature. How much of sattvic speech you are speaking defines your intellect. Then he gives a very important one. Yes, your ability to figure out where others are wrong. Where the other person is going wrong in his thinking. It's not criticism, please. When you express it, it becomes criticism. You should have the capacity to understand that. That's all. That's called intellect. And you must have the capacity to read the mind of the other person. They will say one thing, but you should be able to read beyond what they are saying. The capacity to read between lines. As the person is speaking, you must have the capacity to know from where he is coming, not the area. Okay. From what idea he has is like many times we see this with people asking quick questions. From that question, we know you are reading Jiddu Krishnamurti. I ask them, they say, how do you know, sir? Are you reading Osho? Say, are you reading Aurobindo? We know. How? He is asking the question. Or you are reading Vivekananda. We can know that straight away. How? He's not saying that. But beyond that statements, your ability to see something more than that. That is called intellect. Capacity to capture the essence of any subject of the discussion. Okay. Now, essentially what that person is saying. Essentially, this Gayatri Mantra is what? There are so many things we will be discussing about it. But essentially, what is it talking? What is it referring to? Essentially, Mrityunjaya Mantra, what? Essentially, the Sahana Bhavatu, Sahano Punaktu, Haviryam Karavavahe, Tejasvinavadidamastuma Vidvishavahe. What is essential in that? All ideas are important. You can't say only first line is important, third line is not important and all that. It's not that. Essentially, in that mantra, what is it? Similarly, Mrityunjaya Mantra, essentially, what is it? The capacity to grasp the essence of that discussion. Any subject. I'm not talking about only the mantras, please. Today, the discussion is about mantra. Therefore, I'm referring the mantra example. You take the person to a discussion with reference to fashion designing. You take him to that lecture. He will attend the lecture. After the lecture, he can give you the essence of what the discussion was all about. That's it. Provided he knows the language. Understood, that is. If he can understand the language in which the discussion went on, he knows what are they talking about, essentially. These indications, all these dimensions, how far you have mastered, defines your buddhi. Otherwise, it is called intelligence. Right? Now, you study a particular field of subject, particular field of knowledge, you become expert in that particular field. You keep working with reference to stock market, you become expert with reference to stock market. Another person works with reference to sports, he becomes expert in sports. Similarly, another person can be working with reference to philosophy, can become expert in philosophy. That doesn't mean he has built intellect. Remember, because I'm using the word intellect, don't think that I have intellect. To what extent I have intellect will be defined. How? How do you know that you have got intellect? To what extent you are able to master these 8 aspects. All these 8 aspects to be mastered is introduced to the child at the age of 8. At the age of 8 onwards, the child is going on telling this mantra. What is it, sir? Let my intellect. In fact, that mantra is not my intellect, our intellect. Means what? Everybody's intellect. It is not a selfish idea stating only my intellect should get stronger so that I can prey on you people. No, it's not that. That mantra is aspiring for, let this effulgent sun, one shot, every part of that earth is cleared. Otherwise, what we have to have it, sir? Even if you put a floodlight, how much it can light? Nothing. Just to that particular cricket ground. Beyond the cricket ground, where is the light coming in? The light doesn't travel so much. Whereas the sunlight is like what? One shot, everything gets cleared. And the sun not only gives light, it gives heat also. It's a beautiful idea. See, sun giving that light is perceptible. Sun giving heat is not perceptible. You got to feel it, isn't it? You have to feel. You can't show that, but light is perceptible to eyes. The heat is not visible. Heat is invisible. So there is a visible dimension and there is an invisible dimension to sunlight. Visible dimension is the brightness. Invisible dimension is the heat. Visible dimension will come straight away, but the heat you can recognize over a period of time only. That is why the sun, by 12 o'clock only you start feeling the heat. You ask a person to go the temple, the people go for one pradakshina. Around 11:30, 12 o'clock, ask the fellow to go for pradakshina, what he does. That is why nowadays in the temples and all, what they have done, sir, they started putting a carpet. Red carpet is there all around. Why? People can walk on that. Otherwise, you cannot. Why? It's stone. The stone starts. You have to stay in that light for a period of time for you to experience the heat. Light is instant. Intellectual one you can understand. One dimension of that intellect you can understand straight away. Right? Which is perceptible, which is instant. Whereas there is another dimension to sunlight, which is the heat, which for you to experience, you have to stay in that light for a longer period of time. Only then you will be able to enjoy that. Otherwise, you cannot understand what is it. You won't even, you feel that, it is very nice. Light is there, that's all it is. No. Intellect has two dimensions to it. One is what we call as gross intellect. Another one is called subtle intellect. Gross intellect means Tikshna Buddhi and Sukshma Buddhi. A child is aspiring, let me build my intellect. What he means is, let me have my gross intellect as well as subtle intellect. Both I should have. Gross intellect is like light. Subtle intellect is like heat of the sun. You can enjoy that heat. You can experience that heat only after a period of time. But you have to continue to stay with it. If you are happy with the light and you walk in, finished. You will never enjoy the heat. You can never understand what is the heat of the sun. Now coming to the mantra. Now I have told you already, these mantras are not designed for you to practice, and they have a lot of orthodox systems have come around it and all this. And there are people who say that, Gayatri mantra should not be chanted by women, all that. But I don't know. If you ask me honestly, I have no idea because of what reason. And it comes and, there is a thought that it will affect the womb. So it will become a problem for. Then immediately our argument will be, suppose if I am not going to have a child, there is no problem. No. Only if I say that I want to have a child, or already I have got a child, now I have become old. Anyway, I am not going to have a child. Now I can start chanting. No, because of this reason. Now, all this physical reasons don't subscribe to. Please understand that. Whether they talk about physical benefit or they talk about physical injury. Physically, it will harm you. I say, big deal. So what? I will say. If it is going to give buddhi to me, and at the cost of my body, I'll say it is okay, that doesn't matter. Chalo, you take it. Don't subscribe to these mantras, because a lot of us have started doing these things today. These mantras have become so popular today. Why? Because it gives a positive vibration to your body. It heals your body. It heals your things. Whatever healing you get, coronavirus will come. Full stop. Nothing can be done. You can't say that, I have such a good body, therefore, if coronavirus is not there, some other virus will come. If none of these viruses come, old age will come. Somehow your body is going to get deterioration. It is subject to that. Please understand. You are born, you grow. After that, what, sir? Decay, disease, death. This is life. Nothing can be done. Sometimes it can happen in the same sequence, slowly. Sometimes it can happen with such a speed. Sometimes it can bypass certain steps and go also. There are people who are born, directly go to death also. There are people who are born, they grow, there is no disease, there is no decay, straight away death also happens. Now we can't be deciding on those factors. But what we have to understand is life means all these things. So don't start practicing these mantras believing in the idea that these mantras will give some positive vibrations to your body. It will heal your physiological things, physical things and all that. That's not the purpose of these mantras at all. As a byproduct, you may get those things. As a side effect, correct. But you don't start extracting the oil from coconut. Process it completely so that you will get that coconut cakes. Isn't it? You don't go through the whole process to get coconut cake. For that you don't do. You don't go through the entire process of cultivation so that you will get husk. No, you do the cultivation for grains. Incidentally, you get the husk. That's all. But today what happened is, they have started taking things for the byproducts, containers. People keep this, people share this Swiss chocolates, but not the containers. Containers, you give it back to me, this. You are so involved with that. No longer people buy cars for the engine nowadays. More advertisements are coming only for what, sir? Accessories. What are the accessories are secondary. Primary thing is what in the car? Engine. How many of us look into the engine and buy the car? It's accessories. We have become, more involved with the non-essential aspects. These are all byproducts. Don't get into this non-essential byproducts. Waste of time. You don't have to go through the entire process for this purpose. Now coming to the mantra, this Gayatri mantra, it is known as Gayatri. Gayatri is the meter in which that mantra is. And there are every Devata has got a mantra in their name as Gayatri mantra. The Veda itself gives 13 gods. Gayatri mantra is there. They go on explaining. The Garuda has got one, Narayana has got one, Rudra has got one. Each god has got one Gayatri mantra in them. Ganesha has one, Subramanya has one. Each god, you say, there is one Gayatri mantra in their name. But generally, whenever we use that word Gayatri mantra, without specifying the god's name, it refers only to this mantra. And Gayatri means the mantra which has got 24 aksharas. 3 lines, 888 is supposed to be. That is Gayatri mantra. So 3 lines, like sonnet they say, no, in English. It should have 14 lines. You know, only when you have 14 lines, it is called a sonnet. Otherwise, it's not a sonnet. You know, like that in Tamil also they have Venba, they say. This one, each literature has got its own. Similarly, in the mantras, the most important one is the chandas. The meter is the most important dimension of the Vedic mantras. That's a very popular one is there. Swarahani, mantrahani. You make a mistake in that swara, you have given a wrong mantra. Mantra itself becomes wrong. Swara means there are, you know, ups and downs. That's called a swara. You know, there are 3 types of swaras and all that is there. Now, swara discussion is not what we have to get into right now. Yeah. Udata, Anudata, Swari, Harita. That's all it is, or whatever it's worth. Let you know the names also. There are 3 swaras we have in the Vedas. You know, Udata, Anudata, Swarita. These are the 3. One is up, down, equal. That's all. So the letters to be pronounced little higher note, lower note, and equal note. This fluctuation is there, and that fluctuation is what is enabling that mantra. Not in terms of most of the time, it's not the meaning of it, the word, but the intonational value will change. Like I said yesterday, every mantra has got 2 dimensions. Every sound has got 2 dimensions. Articulate and inarticulate. Articulate one is the meaning. Inarticulate one comes from the intoning. Now you got to know how to intone that for you to create that proper vibration. Some, you know, this Gayatri mantra is supposed to be having around 180,000 sound vibrations being created once you chant it. You know, some research and all that, a lot of research they have done on Gayatri mantra. Of all the mantras, I think this Gayatri is the one which people would have done maximum research on. And what sort of a, you know, form it creates, that sound vibrations using some technology, they capture that into pictures and give you this and all. Really, you know, extraordinary research. But we are not going to be worried about, at least I am not interested on Gayatri mantra because of those reasons. For me, the Gayatri mantra focus is only with reference to the dimension of the meaning of that mantra and the symbolism associated with that. The symbolism means the thought association that you are able to have with using this mantra. Incidentally, this mantra has its own intonation value also. And that has, for you to get the benefit of that intonational value, you have to do it with a number of times and the way it is supposed to be chanted. So that is where this mantra diksha and all been given by people. See, that's where Kabir, when he wanted to have the mantra diksha, he was directed to Ramanand. Mantra diksha is what he has to do. He just have to hear Rama. That's all. Now, the Rama, what is there to, you know, study in that side? No. There is a way you are supposed to be pronouncing Rama. Only then you will get the benefit of it. So, unless otherwise that person has that expertise, he would not be able to give you that. So, for the person to give you this mantra diksha is only for the intonational aspect. Right? Meaning is the same for everybody. Meaning is not going to change. The thought association that you are going to establish is in your hands. I repeat, mantra has first dimension, intone. Second dimension, meaning of the word. Third dimension, your thought association. May that effulgent sun unfold our intellects. When you say that, what are you associating that with? Now here there is another aspect also you can do. People say, Ishwaran, if I know the meaning of Gayatri Mantra, can I go on repeating the meaning in English? You can do that. There is no problem. This meaning dimension of that you can understand. But will you be able to get the intonation value? That you will not get if you do that through translation. This has to be done in that original sound form only. You cannot translate it. Translation will not give you that dimension. Translation can give you this one. May that sun God. You can pray to God in any language. It is not necessary that you have to be praying to God only through Sanskrit. So all those people who don't know Sanskrit cannot pray to God. It's not like that. You can pray to God in any way you want. Doesn't matter. But if you say that, sir, I want to get the advantage of the other dimensions of my effort also, maximizing my effort, then you have to do it in that original sound only. Original sound is in the Sanskrit language. Therefore, you have to do it in Sanskrit language. That's all. Now here we have this one. As I said, every mantra will start with Om. And we have already seen what is Om. Om is a representative of Brahman. So first we remind ourselves of Brahman, the ideal. Then we have the first line here is Om Bhur Bhuvaha Swaha. This Bhur Bhuvaha Swaha there is not part of Gayatri Mantra. Remember, but whenever you chant that Gayatri Mantra, this is also attached to it. Gayatri is only 3 pada, only 3 lines. But when you see it, you will see 4 lines in that. The first line is what is referred as Vyakriti, referring to the 3 worlds. What are the 3 worlds, sir? Bhur, Bhuvaha, Swaha. Our world, lower world, and higher world. Meaning, our earth, then hell, heaven. Or you can take it as waking, dream, deep sleep. You can take in any form. If you are going to be objectively interpreting the whole thing, we take it as heaven, earth, hell, 3 worlds. Or if you are going to be interpreting it as subjective one, we take it as waking, dream, deep sleep. However, what is the purpose of including this Vyakriti? Why they have to include it here? And that too in the beginning itself. The beginning itself you have to remind yourself of what, sir? 3 worlds. This world, hell, heaven. All 3 I have to include. Lower worlds, higher world, and our world. All that is represented by these 3 words. What it does is, this Vyakriti straight away gives an indication how small we are. The moment you say the world, straight away, what are you in that world? One speck. Not even a speck, actually speaking. If you see the universe, we can't even point out where is Earth. When you go little away, you can't even point out where is sun. Sun itself looks like a small dot. They have to arrow mark, they point out and show this is where sun is. Then where is Earth? And then on Earth we have to identify where is India. And then in India we have to identify where is Karnataka. In Karnataka you have to say where is Bangalore. In Bangalore you have to say where is Kempapura. And in Kempapura I have to identify where is Ishwaran. My God. But that fellow thinks what? He has the feel what? I am the most important person in the whole thing. That fat ego. First thing we do is what? When you are going to approach growth, evolution, first requirement is humility. If you are not humble, how do you get humility? The very easiest way of getting humility is to see how small you are. The moment you see yourself to be small, straight away you will become humble. But the problem for all of us is what? That's where the problem is. It's impossible for you to see yourself as, well, you can give lecture, you can talk, I'm also, a very small person, I am nobody, and all those things. When I say I am nobody, belief is what? I am such a great fellow to say I am nobody. Only big man can say nobody, no? That's what they say, isn't it? To give forgiveness is good. To forgive somebody, asking forgiveness is great. Why? I'm asking, no, I'm sorry. So therefore what? You are only a good person, but I am a great fellow. This is what the feel you get. Oh, easiest way to think is to put you where, sir? That's why this Gayatri Mantra starts with that Vyakriti. So what is the thing? Bhur, Bhuvaha, Swaha. And the prayer is directed to Savitu, sun god, the Devata. The Devata is sun god. Now that's what we do. Every mantra, this Vedic mantra, when you chant, you are supposed to be reminding yourself of three things. Three you have to remember. After paying your respects to the tree only, you should do the chanting, which is compulsory, they say. The Rishi who gave that mantra, the meter in which that mantra is, Chandas, and the deity it is addressed to, who you are worshipping. So here, Vishwamitra Rishi, Gayatri Chandas, Savitri Devata. So this entire thing is addressing to this God. What do we address? So first line is this, the first part. Then you have the second part of the mantra. The second part of the mantra is the second line and the third line. The first one is Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. One aspect. All this we understand. Preparation and all these things. First line is preparing. First stage is preparation. Then comes the second stage. This is also second level of preparation. First level is a very, very basic preparation. Second one is actual process. That's where the Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Tatsaviturvarenyam is the second line. The third line is Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. Here, the person is asking, we meditate upon the adorable effulgence of the divine sun. Now he is coming into the mode of prayer. Now he is getting into the actual effort. Tatsaviturvarenyam. Tat means that. Savituhu, sun. Varenyam, most excellent. Vargaha, effulgent, radiance. Devasya, divine. Dhimahi, we meditate upon. Understood. Then the third line. Dhiyo yonaha prachodayat. Dhiyaha means buddhis, intellects. Yaha, who, naha, our. Prachodayat, unfold. This is the, each word meaning. And then we make a sentence out of it. Third line meaning is, may that unfold our intellects. Final one. So what he is saying is, Om Bhur Bhuvaswaha. We meditate upon the adorable effulgence of the divine sun. May that unfold our intellects. In this, what is the most essential dimension, sir? Is that Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat is the most important one here. May that unfold our intellect. That means what? That means the previous line, what he said, meditate upon. We meditated upon that. So this is supposed to be chanted twice a day, morning and evening. Twice we are supposed to be chanting the Gayatri Mantra. But you have to chant it along with the preparation things, along with the Angas. Angas only you got to practice it. You can't just practice it in isolation. But you are supposed to do that twice. According to the Vedas. Because some of the Brahmins who are sitting there, they may be thinking, no, we are supposed to do thrice a day. No, they'll say. They'll think maybe Ishwaran forgot. No. The Vedic instruction is to do twice. The Smriti Kartas have given the indication that you have to do 3 times. Sandhya Kala. You are supposed to practice this during Sandhya Kala. Sandhya means union. A time where the thing joins. Sandhya means that. Sandhya means the junction. There is supposed to be 2 junctions, which is critical. Then the Smriti Kartas, they said there is a third junction also during noon time. First one is night to day, one junction. Another junction is from day to night, the dawn and dusk. These are the two. The Vedic injunction is to do two, but then the Smriti Kartas who have taken it up, they said, no, you have to do 3 times. During daytime also you are supposed to do, during noon time also. That is also added. That is how it became 3 actually. But there is a difference in that. So those who follow this side, they say only 2. Those who follow that side, they say 3. Don't think that it is only 3. Not depends on who you follow. And then in this process also there are very many variations are there. And don't think that Gayatri Upasana or the Sandhya Vandana is to be practiced only by Brahmins. No. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, all 3 have to do it. And all 3 have different procedural details. And then depending upon which Veda you practice also, the procedure will vary. Rigvedis will do it in one way, Yajurvedis will do it in one way, Samavedis will do it in one way, Atharvanavedis will do it in one way. There are very many variations are there. However, one thing we all know is, anyone who had got this Upanayana ceremony being done, who is qualified for Upanayana ceremony, sir? All 3 are qualified for Upanayana ceremony. Only for the Shudras, they said it is not required. But for the other 3, it is a requirement. I am not getting into the details of why it is so and all that. That is a separate study by itself. Right? No, I am not going to get into those analysis right now. But the procedure, when you say we have to chant it, who is supposed to do? As per the instructions we have, only the Dvijas is supposed to practice it. Who is a Dvija? The one who has gone through the thread ceremony. Who is supposed to get the thread ceremony done? All 3 Varnas are supposed to get the thread ceremony done. And all 3 are qualified to do. Not only qualified, all 3 it is compulsory to do. It is considered as an obligation. So it is not a matter of right. It is a matter of duty. Paying income tax to the government is not a matter of right. It's a matter of duty. You better pay. If you don't pay tax, what will happen? It's penalty you have to pay. Same way, if you pay tax, government is not going to give you a reward. Oh, he is the most honest taxpayer in the country. Therefore, we are going to give him an award for that. No award will be given for you to pay tax. At the same time, if you don't pay tax, you will be penalized. Similarly, if you do this Sandhya Vandanam, there is no benefit for you. But for not doing it, you will be penalized. So, who is supposed to do? All 3 are supposed to do. Don't think only Brahmins are supposed to be doing, others are not supposed to do. No. We have seen that in Ramayana, we have seen that in Mahabharata, where Krishna, Rama, all those people keep doing it all the time. Whenever they have to do, they keep doing it. So there is no restrictions there. Now this Sandhya junction, this junction is treated as externally when you view it, it is that during that time. And they say that period is most conducive for spiritual efforts externally, that morning and evening time, morning sunrise and sunset during that period. Then internally, when you try to understand that, this Sandhya has a different meaning here. Here the union means it is the union of Jivatma and Paramatma. So Sandhya Vandanam, when we say, Externally, it refers to the time in which you do the prayers. Internally, you refer it as the effort put in to unite the Jiva and Paramatma. This is another meaning. So this Sandhya Vandanam is supposed to be done in both these periods. And the three stages were explained very beautifully in Mundaka Upanishad with a beautiful example. Mundaka Upanishad gives an excellent example wherein it says this entire effort is exactly like how the person shoots with the bow and arrow. Beautiful one. First step, there are 3 steps in that. First step is you prepare the bow first. You string the bow. First thing is you have to take the thread and bend the bow and string it. String both the ends. That's step 1. Step 2, you take the arrow, place that arrow and pull that arrow, holding the bow along with the string. You pull the arrow to the maximum tension. Step 3 is what? Release. After that, it is automatic. Your effort is only in which stage? Step 1 and step 2 is active effort. Step 3 is passive effort. If you have done step 1 and step 2 properly, step 3 is automatic. So it says, with the example, it explains how the spiritual seeker shoots. Like that, you also do in this Gayatri Mantra chanting. 3 stages are there. First stage, you prepare the bow with humility. How, sir? You string your personality with humility. Then what you do? Take the bow, the arrow, place it and pull. Maximum you got to pull. That's where the full effort comes into picture. We meditate upon that effulgent sun. The effulgent sun I meditate upon. Full effort he gives in that. Then he is seeking his blessing. What? May he unfold, enlighten our intellect. Unfold my intellect. Because the whole problem is my intellect is folded, enveloped. It's enveloped by darkness. My intellect is covered, as it were, with the darkness of my ignorance. Vasanas, desires, dirts. Now you can interpret any way you want. Now you can add on anything. But essentially what it means is only this much. It says you have to practice these things and you have to go on reminding yourself on a daily basis. You can't say one day and expect the results to come. Therefore, the Upanishads gives a beautiful example. It gives a story, as it were. You know, in the Aranyaka portion it gives. Yajurveda Aitri Aranyaka. It comes. A very interesting story. It appears there is supposed to be, few asuras, Mandehas called as, supposed to have been about 30 crores of them. 30 crore asuras were there. Those asuras, every day morning what they do is, they rush towards the sun to capture him, the asuras. And the devas didn't know how to stop those fellows. Devas could not fight those asuras because they are very powerful. And they were asking, what can stop these guys? What can actually hold these people? There, Brahma gave them one option. He said, in the world, on earth, those who do this Argya Pradhanam, which is part of the Upasana, part of this, it's a Andhya Upasana. Argya Pradhanam is, you chant this Gayatri mantra and pour water, throw water. That's what they do. Those who do this, this is what they would know. They will take, a handful of water and chant the Gayatri mantra. Om Bhurbo Sava Tatsaldravarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimhi Dhivana Prachodayat. They pour water. And then again they take one more and say Om Bhurbo Sava Tatsaldravarenyam Bhargo Devasya. They pour like that 3 times. That water goes and hits those people like the thunderbolt, strikes them, they fall down and die. And then in the night, again they get life. Next day morning, again what they do? They come to attack. Again next day morning, what these people have to do? Again they have to give this Argya Pradhanam. Has to be done. Once they do that, again it strikes and these guys, it keeps on happening. We wonder, what is this funny story, man? Remember, it's just a beautiful story. The whole thing we understand from the name they give. The clue is in the names being given. You see, what is the name? Mandehas. Mandehas. Manas and Deha. The abhimana that you have, the involvement that you have on your mind and on your body is what is coming and striking and enveloping your buddhi, your intellect. Every day it attempts to come back and envelop it, destroy it. So, when you give this mantra chanting, you are reminding yourself what? I have to strike down that. That is called Upasana. This Upasana, when you are discussing, remember there are 2 types of Upasanas we have. The same Gayatri mantra, Upasana can be practiced as though the Lord is outside, as though the sun god is there. He is going to be giving you this, which is called as Bheda Upasana or Dvaita Upasana. Another one is Abheda Upasana. There you don't do outside, now you invoke the Lord inside you. So the story given there is as though it is happening outside. So don't think actually there are 10,000 people going there every day capturing and all that, please. It's not that. It is only for you to have that idea. That's about it. But don't think, this is what in Vedas we call as Arthavada. These things are known as Arthavadas. You should not be getting into the details of it. What is the geographic location of that island? Which part of that island is this? Is it Andaman Nicobar or it is Maldives? Or this place or that place in the, which island they are talking about? I think they must be referring to Australia only. Why, sir? Because that is where the total population is 30 crores. Australian government will sue you for calling them all asuras. You see, it's not that. You just have to understand there is a place. That's how it's called Arthavada. Don't go into the merits of the meeting. The ideas there. Like, when in Bhagavatam, when you are learning, Krishna went and stole butter. All this, you are not going to be getting into the analytical dimension of it. You're not supposed to do that there. You are supposed to just cherish as a child's pranks. That's about it. Don't start thinking in terms of, oh, then what is the churning instrument? What is that curd? What is the patram that is being kept there? What about the hand that is doing? What is this tattva? What is that tattva? And all that, if you start analyzing, it will lose the very significance of it. There, you are supposed to pay attention only to that. That's it. Whereas, when you come here, you don't go into the details of this. You go to the tattva. You are supposed to go into the philosophy. Don't get into these aspects. Now, that's what I see these days people. Where they are supposed to pay attention to the story, they go to the philosophy. Where you are supposed to apply the philosophy, they start analyzing the story, and they think they are intellectuals. And we believe we are thinking as it were. Ella ulta, essentially what we do is, we do what we are not supposed to do. That's what it means. Whatever I am not supposed to do is what I will do. Then I am a very, very strong fellow. I am an intellectual. I am open. I am liberal, etc. Weird, thinking. In this example, in this Upanishadic story, don't analyze the merits of it, please. Here, it is more of the philosophy. What about these details, sir? These are all Arthavada, and dismiss it. We dismiss all that. We don't go into that detail. Now, what is it referring to? It refers only to your Deha Abhimana that you carry all the time. How am I to drop it? You see, that is where in this chanting of Gayatri Mantra, before you actually do this Gayatri Mantra chanting, you are supposed to do some Purvangas, preparatory. The Purvanga itself has about 10 things to do before you actually start this Gayatri Mantra chanting. Those who do that Sandhya Vandanam will know what I'm referring to. There are 10 things they do first. From Achamaniyam to Ganapati Dhyanam to Pranayama and Sankalpa, Marjanam, and then they go to this Jala Prashnam, and then they go to this Punar Marjanam. Again they do the same thing. Only then this Arghya Pradhanam will come, where you actually pour the water. And then comes Sandhya Upasanam, is where you start invoking the Lord, and then they do this Aditya Arpanam. Tarpanam you do for, means pleasing. You please, who you please, sir? You please two things there. All the Avagrahas you do Tarpanam. Adityam Tarpayami, Somam Tarpayami, Angarakam Tarpayami. All that they go on saying. All this Navagrahas they say. And then 12 names of Vishnu also they say, and do pour water. For pleasing him, pleasing him, all that you do preparatory things. With all these preparations, this fellow is ready for him to actually do this japa. When you sit for doing this japa, you find right through these people always may ask a person to do the number of rounds of pranayama. You have seen them, holding their nose. They hold their nose, they'll say, and they touch their ears. You think, done. Most of the time, they don't even do pranayama. You are supposed to do pranayama. Now comes this idea. This Deha Abhimanam should go away. See, pranayama, when you are practicing what's the breathing. Your entire focus is only on breathing and the consequence effect of that on your body. I don't have to go into the details of what is this pranayama and all that. What is the effect of pranayama? Why you have to do pranayama? All those things. Essentially, in the scriptures, they say pranayama only for one purpose. Remember that. There is no other reason for them to be asking you to do pranayama. Throughout the rituals, any ritual they do, you will see them In between, they will be doing one pranayama. Why they do is there is a very close association with your concentration and your breathing, your thoughts running and your breathing. When breathing stops, thinking stops. They identified this principle. But if you go on doing that, over a period of time, your mind will know how to circumvent that and go away. Right? Exactly like whenever father shouts, the child will behave properly, isn't it? When the child is 5-6 year old. When you have a child 16-year-old, happens every day at my house. That's how I know. Initially, if I scream, that's it. She will go and hide under the bed. Now she comes out. When I start shouting, she comes out from the room and says, "Can't you keep quiet? I'm studying, no?" I say, "Oh, I'm sorry." Won't work. When the child comes to 16, it will not work. When it is 6, it will work. That too, once in a while, if you scream, they will listen. Right? Every day you go on screaming, what will happen? You will become an entertainment for them. Whenever they want to get entertained, what they will do? They'll make you scream. And they'll smile and go away. That's all. Same thing your mind also will do. So remember that. Pranayama is given to you to hold. Because any rituals when you are practicing, over a period of time, that activity can be converted by your mind to mechanicalism. Ritual is not mechanical. Remember that. Your mind will make that ritual mechanical if you continue to keep doing it in the same fashion. So once in a while, you need a jerk. So to give you the jerk, they found which is the easiest way to give the jerk is to stop and restart. Stop and restart. It helps in the initial phases. For that, they found there is a close association between your breathing and your thoughts. So, when you stop breathing, when you modify your breathing, your thinking gets modified. Pranayama is given only for this purpose. Right? However, the practice of that pranayama will give you certain side effects. There is a benefit at the bodily level. You are not supposed to get involved in that. So therefore, what did they do, sir? They associated mantras to pranayama. That's how you are supposed to do that pranayama. You don't do pranayama without a mantra associated with that, mantra chanting along with it. So that you will do pranayama, but your concentration is not on the pranayama, your concentration is always on the mantra. So your involvement, your attachment to that body doesn't get too much. There is a separation created. There is a break created. There is a space created between the practice of this, which will make your body better incidentally, but essential purpose is to provide a jerk. So through that pranayama practices, what happens there? Your mind is ready for that. That is why they ask a person to do a number of times pranayama. You have to do pranayama for few times. For few people, they say it is 3 times. There are people who say 10 times. Now, depending upon the practices, that varies. Now, we don't get into the details of those things. That's not our purview at all. That depends on each person's convenience. If you can do 10 times, you do 10 times. If you can do 3 times, you do three times also. But is it okay if I do only once, sir? It will not be effective. Right. So pranayama done in between is for one purpose. For this purpose, you do it differently. Now with the pranayama on all those things, you start chanting the mantra. That is how this Gayatri name itself it has got. Gayantam trayate iti Gayatri. When you sing, Gayantam means sing, chant. When you chant, that trayate protects. When you chant this Gayatri mantra, it protects you. You gain protection. How it gives you that protection, sir? It gives you that protection two ways. One, the seeker is reminding himself by seeking, reminding his purpose of life is to build that intellect for enlightenment. Through the chant, meaning dimension, articulate dimension, intonational dimension is Gayatri mantra gives a very, very powerful vibrations it creates. There's supposed to be around 72,000 nadis in your body. Physically, you can't locate them. So don't try to locate it at the physical. You can't locate it. Right. Supposed to have been, says the Ayurveda. Supposed to be. This repeated chanting of this mantra creates that vibration and passes through those nadis and clears the path so that your life energy can move at ease. Exactly like this angio they do, no? Clearing the arteries. Otherwise your deposits gets accumulated there. Therefore the blood flow doesn't, go smoothly. Therefore what they have to do, sir? They have to clear those things like that. Or detoxing. Nowadays we do this, detoxing the liver, detoxing your kidney, detoxing your stomach, each organ we are planning to do like this. Similarly, the nadis, which is far more subtler, also gets this one. And intellectually, the student or the seeker is reminding himself of the wake-up call. Do not get involved in the affairs of the world. Your focus has to be there on getting that enlightenment. For that enlightenment, you need to build your intellect. Buddhi should become so sharp for you to execute that vicharam, that inquiry. For you to do the self-inquiry, for you to study the Shastras, you need this sharpness of your buddhi. Please give me that. Please give me that. Please give me that. Please give me that. So that he is requesting the Lord to give it. Of course, he is the one who is going to put in that effort also. You can't say, please give me and keep sleeping. Won't work. Remember, you are putting that effort. At the same time, you keep on reminding yourself that it is through the grace of the God, Lord, I am getting my intellectual clarity, intellectual strength, stamina is building, not because of my effort. Because if it goes through, if it were to be because of my effort, over a period of time, it will lead to arrogance only. It will get into this intellectual arrogance. Therefore, the student goes on repeating within himself. What is it? I am this. I have to get it. So the student is directed to chant this Gayatri mantra, the seeker. And everyone is considered in the world as a seeker only. Every human being is considered as a seeker here. So every one of us have to practice it. Everyone has to do the chanting. So the student sits and he goes through the process of chanting this Gayatri mantra. And remember, the efficacy of this depends on the number of cycles you do. More the number, better it gets. You can't say once and enough. No. You have to do it number of times. Exactly like, how do you break the atom? You can't throw a bomb inside. Then what do they do, sir? How the breaking happens, say, is the electrons are moving at a higher speed within the atoms. Somehow make it move faster than that. As it is, he is running so fast. Make him run faster than that for number of times, X number of times. When he starts running at a higher speed for a number of times, that speed of movement creates that energy and the atom is broken. It can't contain anymore. It breaks. That breaking explodes. Tremendous energy comes out of it, they say. Such a tiny one. But breaking that atom gives tremendous energy. It's there inside. It is packed into it. But the problem is what? You can't get an access to it unless you do that speed and the number of times. And that is where they do the number of chantings also be recommended to people. They say, then they give the number of times. Morning you are supposed to chant 108 times, afternoon 64, evening 108, and some of them say 32, some of them say this, some of them say okay, at least do 10 times. Now 10 times you do, 10, 20 times you do, we don't care. But if you want to get the benefit of it, you have to do more the number, better the effect. More the number of times you can chant, better the effect. That too, remember the chanting should be done in that proper system and that proper procedure. For those who have not having that expertise, those who say that, sir, I don't know about all this, Argya Pradhanam, this thing and all that you are talking about, all these things I have never learned. Now, are you going to teach me all those things? I say, don't waste your time for all those aspects, in fact. Those who have got it, they have to do it in that fashion only. Those who have not got it, instead of not doing anything, do something. Based on principle I'm talking. Something is better than nothing. Like a lot of them have this belief. They say, sir, if you do it properly, or else don't do. Anything you start, you always do improperly. No? You start learning to write. Do you start writing properly from day one? No, you write improper. Through improper, only you get it to proper. Right. Now, this philosophy looks very great to hear. What? If you do something, do it properly, or else don't do it. It is excellent philosophy to talk, but not to live. In life, always closer. You start doing improper. At least in this Janma, do it improperly. Let us try next Janma properly. Right. At least in this Janma, start doing it. At least 10 times. If it is possible, do it 10 times at least, minimum. So that at least you will remember the idea. If not the intonational value and all those things, you may not be able to experience. At least that will give you an opportunity to remind yourself that this is. So as a reminder, you can keep doing it. And it is not such a difficult one to memorize also. I'm quite sure most of you would know this by now. The mantra, right? Even if you say that, sir, I don't know the exact method of, this, sorry, all those, I don't know all that. I say, forget about all those things. All those things you have to worry only if you are going to be doing it number of times. Isn't it that it will have a, negative effect on my personality? Yes, it will. But that also can happen only if you do it number of times. For you to get the positive result, number of times. Negative result also, number of times. Otherwise, there is no. So, if you ask me, strictly speaking, strict recommendation of mine is don't practice this. There are other mantras you can practice. Right? Like we have Hare Rama, Hare Krishna is there. You can chant it. That is enough actually. But for those who have heard this, now that you are inspired to do, sir, what are we to do? I say at least do 10 times. Morning, evening, or at least once a day, either morning or evening. But don't do it anywhere, anytime. No. It should be done at this time, and it has to be done with the basic preparation. Otherwise, what you will do is you will go and sit in your hut and do Gayatri Mantra chanting. Why, sir? I'm free there at that time, you will say. I know how your mind will work. You see, always we try to find some excuse somewhere. I should do minimum, but the result has to be what? Phenomenal result has to come. Ideally speaking, I will not do anything. I should get enlightenment. But now that you say that I have to do something, I will do minimum, sir. No. You have to do it at a particular place at a particular time. At least this much discipline you got to maintain. If this discipline you are not going to maintain, you can do whatever you want. I don't care. I can't do anything after that. Best thing we can recommend is this. Ideal method is to do it with that full system. You can't do that. Preparatory you forget. At least do that portion. If that is also not possible, do a minimum chant. 10, I can say. But strictly it should be done at a particular place, a particular time. Fix your own time. It doesn't matter. Ideal time is Sandhya time, morning or evening. So either you try the morning time or you try at the evening time. Between the two, if you ask me, Ishwaran, which is the best time, I can do only one time a day. I say do in the morning time. Do in the morning. Thereby you will be able to enjoy. Okay. Hari Om.